we are back, and today on this installment of Two Women Left Unsupervised, we are talking about, wait for it, Devil's Tower in Alpine, New Jersey. Boom!
You're such a freaking talk show host.
I did a long, long time ago, so over 25 years ago, I did actually host a cable show.
I think that's kind of obvious, yeah.
Yeah.
So was it like public access, or was it?
It was public access, and it was basically kind of like an Elvira thing. Except that, I'm not
You
playing
don't
a
have
goth
quite
part.
the
I
yeah.
am an actual goth, and so, yeah. So, kind of tying into that, this was back in New Jersey, in Jersey City, and so this Devil's Tower is in Alpine, New Jersey, and it was built by Manuel Rianda, and it actually was a little bit of an inspiration for parts of Secondhand Sarah.
Mhm.
Specifically the tower, except that I vaguely remember this tower being like in the middle of the woods and nobody could get into it, except that this one is not in the middle of the woods. It's in the middle of town,
Right.
and there's an underground tunnel getting to it from the house.
What I thought he filled that in.
He did after his wife killed herself or
Well,
fell.
wait. Why don't we start at the beginning?
We'll start at the top. So
Okay,
it was built by Manuel Rianda, and
wait,
he
are
built.
you starting at the top with urban legends or with facts?
I'm talking facts first, and then we'll go with the
Oh, I thought it'd be
numbers.
fun to do urban legends first and then facts.
Well,
Then
the
we could be
facts
like,
are
this is what
pretty. The
yeah, that's true.
facts are basic. So I mean, it was built by this guy so that his wife would have a place to like overlook everything.
Right,
And it had a tunnel that went to the house, and so she would go up there and hang out.
right.
Well, at some point, this is where the urban legends start coming in. Apparently, while she was up there, she discovered him having an affair, and was so angry / sad that she threw herself off the top of the tower and killed herself.
Right.
So after that, then it became kind of a thing where everybody's like, oh, it's haunted because they're getting shoved. And so
Right.
that's
And
when,
he filled in the tunnel and said no one's allowed to go in the tower.
yep, he took out
And
the elevator,
mhm.
which I'm like, okay, wasn't there a staircase? It seems weird
Yeah,
to just have an elevator with no staircase.
I think it's one of those things that like they had a lot of money. He was very wealthy.
Yeah,
So they had an elevator because they could.
yeah. But I'd imagine there would be a staircase too, though.
I would think so. Yeah, I think
I mean,
maybe
like, what happens if
you
the power
mentioned.
goes out? It's not like it was, uh, hell, the power goes out today. So, like,
Well,
why
I
would
think
you
maybe
have?
the staircase just doesn't get mentioned because it's not exciting. It's not
Well,
sexy.
that, and they probably don't want people climbing up there either.
Exactly.
So either way, so he filled in all of that and took out the elevator. Supposedly, the town of Alpine, New Jersey, after the guy died, was just like, thank God he's finally dead. We can take down this tower. And so they sent out workmen to go like take down the tower, and like I think it was 6 people died, like fell to their deaths off the tower, and then they were like, okay, maybe not. And so now this thing just sits like in the middle of everything,
Right.
because they had sent these people to demolish it, and apparently they were either pushed or they fell. Something happened. So now the thing has a reputation for being cursed, and supposedly you can like walk backwards around it a certain number of times, and either you meet Harriet. Well, there's a
It's
bunch
either
of different
3 or
numbers. So
6.
yeah, it's 3 or 6. So you either meet Harriet or you meet the devil. It's a
Right.
crapshoot.
Right. And either way, you're going to die a horrible death.
Yeah.
But here's the thing, right? So she was supposed to have gotten all distraught and thrown herself to her death um, in like 1910.
Something like that. Yeah, it was early 1900s.
Right. And they said her name was Harriet.
Yep.
Her name was actually Helen Clark.
Scary.
Shock, horror. Um, there's more. Wait, there's more. And they were very happily married. There's no evidence of him ever having cheated. And a part that I thought particularly cool was that there is a photo of them looking very much in love and very happy. No, she died in 1910-ish, right? The photo is taken in 1920.
Which is when he died.
No, she died of natural causes in 1922. He died in 1943. He
Oh.
never remarried.
Aw,
Yeah. Isn't that sweet?
that is sweet.
Yeah.
So it
'Cause
makes you
she
wonder, did he even
loved
fill in that tunnel and take out the elevator?
I don't know. Makes you wonder if people are just saying, "Oh, I got pushed," and it's because they're like expecting to be.
I
Because I think,
feel I feel like it's probably since, okay, so New Jersey is called the Garden State for a reason. It's a big giant swamp. Um, my guess is that this tower is built on partial swamp, and so very much like the Leaning Tower of Pisa, it is probably a little off kilter.
yes.
And so people are probably getting thrown off by the tower having settled and staircases and things like that being,
Well,
moved.
well, there's also no actual record of the workmen falling to their deaths and
Ooh,
the city trying to destroy
kids.
it. Like there's nothing. None of that exists. There's no I looked in newspapers. I was
Yeah,
like
dug deep.
I
I was
got
like, scratch,
detective.
scratch, scratch, surface.
No, I was like I got my FBI hat on. um yeah, there's nothing. There's no record of any of that. But I do think that people have played up this ghost story and this legend so much that it's one of those places. You said it's built on a swamp, and New Jersey's a weird, weird place.
Hmm.
And emotions have energy, and possibly a lot of this is people's expectations, so they feel what they expect to feel.
Oh yeah.
Um, and also this energy has built up over time, and so there's all this intense energy at the place, and that's causing some of it as well.
And New Jersey's kind of an intense place to begin with.
Yes.
There's a lot of intensity going on.
Yeah, Jersey's.
And like I said, I love New Jersey. I absolutely adored it. It was one of my favorite places to live.
Mhm.
Um, I still, to this day, love the people of New Jersey because they are just some of the wildest, craziest, most interesting people I've ever met.
Yes,
Um,
I had a friend. She lives in Germany now, but she was a nurse in Gramas. I don't know, one of those towns. But I used to go visit her, and it was beautiful,
mhm.
absolutely gorgeous by her house. But
Well,
man, she was a nut.
it's green stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, like you can literally drive up the turnpike and know where you're at by the smell.
Yes. Yeah, because it's either swamp smell or friggin' refinery smell.
Well, there's refineries, there's old warehouses and factories, there's old chemical plants,
Mhm.
there's Egg Harbor, which smells like eggs. Um,
Mhm.
so yeah, I mean, like literally all the way up New Jersey, you can tell where you are by the smell.
But
Um,
it's crazy because it's so beautiful.
it is, and not only that, but it's got some weird shit everywhere. It's not just
I
like, oh,
know.
it's in like one spot. It's
It's
everywhere.
everywhere, and it's so much fun. Like the hospital that my friend worked at was like this big foreboding stone castle looking building that looked like a medieval prison,
Ooh,
but the inside of it was gorgeous.
yeah.
Um, but from the outside, you would think that they kept like the worst of the criminally insane there.
They've got some amazing buildings.
Mhm.
So I went to school at Jersey City State College, which is now New Jersey City University, and part of the attraction to this place was the tower looked just like St. Michael's Tower on Glastonbury Tour,
Ooh.
just like it, almost an exact replica of it.
Hmm.
And as you know, I dreamt about Glastonbury Tour since I was like 16, and I'd never seen it. I never knew it was in England, so here I am like trying to figure. And this would be before the internet. Gather round, children! It's before the internet.
Before times.
So
Before the before times.
before the before times.
Yeah.
Um, So I literally was just like, oh my gosh, that must be the place. And so I went to school there. Although my mom really liked the fountain too, and it was cheap. So I also went to school there because my
Oh,
first choice was SUNY Oswego,
okay.
and loved SUNY Oswego, but it was hella expensive.
Yeah, New York schools are
So
expensive.
yeah, but it was
Um,
nice. Plus, Jersey City State had a better media program, which is what I was going for. So I went there, and so if you ever read Weird New Jersey, there is actually a story from me in there from my time at Jersey City State College, where in me and a couple of friends, we were all hanging out, and we were hanging out outside the tower on the lawn, and we heard the most amazingly beautiful singing, just gorgeous, like angels from on high. And we were like, what is that? So we're looking everywhere trying to figure out where this is coming from, and we realized like the doors into that building are open. And we're like, oh, is there, and we're like, we didn't hear about a theater thing going on tonight or anything, because that's where the theater was. So we went in and we're looking around. There's nobody in the theater. Everything's locked up. Lights are out. We go into the classroom that's in the tower. There's nothing. There's nobody. We're walking around, looking, and we can't find it, but we keep hearing this singing. And it is literally like a chorus of angels singing. And we never did find out where it was coming from, but it was like all over that tower.
hmm.
And it was just the weirdest thing. So yeah, weird stuff like that. Abandoned amusement parks in the middle of the woods for no reason. And the 300 stone steps of Morris Plains, New Jersey.
I was going to say the staircase to nowhere.
It's the place to nowhere, aka Beacon 13. But unfortunately, as cool as it is, like I love stories about weird, like stairs to nowhere and people disappearing and shit, which will be our next episode, people disappearing. But
Yes.
300 stone steps up this Watnong Mountain to Beacon 13 is what they thought it was for.
Beacon 13 being what?
That was for Washington's people back in the day.
Oh, okay, so the beacon's along.
Yeah. So
Okay.
Beacon 13 is actually near that staircase,
Okay.
and it was to check out the British troop movements. And the actual story of the steps, they were built in the 1870s. They were not even around in the time of Washington.
Right.
But they are just coincidentally going up to Beacon 13, or at least near Beacon 13. There's 300 of them, and they are man-made, and they go to the quarry. It was a letdown. I gotta
It's so
say.
frustrating when like you get these great stories. Like there was a story of Emo's grave back in Salt Lake City when I lived in Utah, right? And everybody was looking for Emo's grave because if you go there at the right time of night, you'll see red glowing eyes and meet the devil himself.
Ooh.
Except it was a prominent Mormon of his time, and he just had a really nice, like headstone, whatever, built for him. And I have no idea how or why it got associated with Satanism or Satan. It just like it. None of the urban legends were true. There was also this place called Gravity Hill, and it's one of those spots where you park
Yep.
and the car goes the opposite way of the way you think it's going to go.
Yep.
Which was fun, but it was along this like canyon and it curves
Ooh.
around back behind the Capitol building in Salt Lake City. And of course, there you're in the foothills of the Wasatch Mountains right in that area. So you're up high, and then there's mountains up above you, and then there's like valley below you. So as you drive along there, allegedly there's a woman in white, of course. There's always a woman in white, a bride who crashed on her wedding day in the car with her husband, looking for him, looking for help, and God, don't let her get in your car. But of course, we go out there trying to see her on purpose and never could.
Well, they have hitchhiking soldiers out by Gettysburg.
I believe it.
And a friend of my dad's was driving through Gettysburg one night, and she saw these two soldiers walking along the side of the road, and she pulled over and she asked them if they needed a ride. They said yeah, and they got in the car, and she gave them a ride for like a mile, and then she went to go like ask them where they were going to, and there was nobody in the back seat.
So were they like Civil War
Yeah.
soldiers?
Hmm.
So how did they know what a car was?
Yeah, exactly. I don't know.
That's
um
suspicious.
I feel like there was more to that story, and she was a little, so yeah. But I mean, in fairness,
Yeah,
I have seen the Civil War soldiers, and I have mistaken them for reenactors.
as have I. So,
So,
but I never saw them actually like interact with anything that's blatantly modern.
and I'm wondering if they even got in the car at all,
Yeah,
or if it was just like, you know,
wishful thinking.
yeah, I don't know.
Want to
But
tell a good story,
but she did talk to them, which I do believe,
right?
and they interacted, which I also believe.
We should do an episode about black-eyed children.
Ooh, creepy. I don't want to talk
No,
about him.
fine.
No, I'm kidding. But for the
But
next episode, we are going to talk about the Bridgewater Triangle, the Bennington Triangle, and the megalithic chambers of New England. And I have a surprise because I put my, well, not my FBI hat on, but my I guess woo woo hat,
research,
my witchy woo woo hat.
right?
And I did some research on it, and I found something really cool, which I hope is going to be a surprise for everybody, including you. So I'm not going to tell you because I want to see your reaction in the
Okay, well, I did only the barest scratch the surface research on these because I wanted you to do your thing and be able to commentate on it. So,
Okay. So
yeah,
I'm gonna stop the
you're in
recording
charge next time.
now, and we're gonna see you next time.